Well, these are my California size autos. Now, for those of you all who are familiar with automatic knives, you know that in California, an auto is only legal if the blade is less than 2 inches. And also, I think that for those of us who don't live in California, uh, California size autos are probably still a pretty good idea because autos are not common, and by and large, the stereotype of the automatic knife is a long, deadly weapon. And frankly, a smaller auto is one that probably can be used in public without scaring people so much. Now, I say probably because a lot of people simply aren't comfortable with pocket knives at all. And that will go double for knives that open quickly with one hand. And so I just think that you always need to use a little bit of caution with using knives in public. I mean, just to be a little bit on the vulgar side, I say, just like you wouldn't use the bathroom in front of everybody or in front of anybody really, it's not good to just pull out knives in front of folks. I mean, if you have a specific reason to use it, take it out. If not, keep it in your pocket. Because if you go around popping it out in front of everybody, there's a good chance that you'll wind up in trouble that's simply not worth it. But anyway, having gotten way off the topic, these are my two California size autos. The one to my left, or the one to the left of the screen, is a Protect Sprint. And the one to the right is the Kershaw Launch. Anyway, let me open both of them up. There we go. Now the Kershaw Launch is a little bit larger overall. It has a larger overall size because it has a longer handle. And the Protect, however, has a shorter handle, but a slightly longer blade. Now, both of these knives I think are really good knives. Let me get that. I'm going to put them on their side so they can be seen better. No, that's not better. Even more shadow. There we go. Let me just keep them like that for right now. Now, the Protect is more of a true drop point. It has a S35 VM blade. The Kershaw is a very, very fine needle point. I mean, I guess somebody like Nick Shabazz would say that it almost looks murdery. The only thing that keeps it from looking really murdery is the fact that it's really tiny. But, it has an extremely pointed needle point, sharp needle point. Now, both of these knives have the flush buttons to activate, to open them. Neither one has a safety. Opening up is not a major issue for either one of them. Now, I admit the Protect Sprint did open in my pocket one time, but it was deep in my pocket with a bunch of keys and pins and other stuff, and so there was enough poking around in there to make it pop open. The Kershaw Launch, I haven't had that problem, but I haven't really carried it deep in my pocket either. I usually have it clipped to the top of the pocket. Now, I will say this, the one thing I will say is that for some reason my Protect came kind of dull. I had to really sharpen it, which from everything I understand is really unusual for Protect. And so therefore, this knife, if you look at it, look at the blades, you can see I have a scratch or two on it. And I guess I'm just not, I'm not like Apostle P or some of those guys like that. I just use a DMT diamond rod, and my edges aren't always the prettiest. But it's a sharp knife. I use it a lot. It's one of my, in terms of just actually using it, it's one of my most often used autos. Now, the Launch, however, as you can see, there we go. You can see, I'm trying to see. Oh yeah, you can see the 154 CM on it. Try to get it hold steady so it can focus. And a 154 CM blade. As you can see, Kershaw has that American flag on everything now, which is cute. I mean, that's really nice for, let you know it's a U.S. made product. Protect, as you can see here, S35 VN. That's the steel. Now, I would say this, having used both of these to a certain degree, the Protect, I think, has a more usable blade shape because it's more of a true classic drop point. it's better overall for cutting, that kind of thing. The launch, with the really, really pointy blade, the one thing it's really good at is a good splinter picker. I can say that. If you need to pick splinters, if you need to get something out of a little tight space, it's good for that. Also, that blade shape makes for a very good letter opener too. And when you think about it, these are really small knives, and they're not going to do a whole lot more than that. Now, having said that, I know in the world of manual knives, I'm thinking about like knives like Spyderco Dragonfly, or even smaller keychain knives like the Spyderco Ladybug and the Spyderco Manbug. Those knives have really full bellies, and even though they're tiny, they're really good for overall utility. And so I think that that's the direction that more California autos ought to go. Now, as a matter of fact, I know that ProTech makes some, they have several California size autos, and they actually do have some models that are better in terms of overall utility blades. But having said that, I really like both of these. Like I said, the Kershaw has a little bit longer handle. It's good in the hand. I can actually get 3 fingers on it pretty comfortably, which, considering the fact that both of these knives are under 6 inches overall, that's pretty good. Now the ProTech, like I said, has a shorter handle, but it's a comfortable handle. And like I said before, this is a really good utility knife. And so I would just like to say that I think both of them are worth the money. The ProTech is more expensive. The ProTech was about $100. Is S35V and a more expensive blade steel. And ProTech is, of course, is a smaller company than Kershaw. It is in Kershaw Kai. And so I would imagine that when Kershaw decided to go auto, they were probably making more knives than ProTech. And then also Kershaw uses a 154 CM. And I don't know if 154 CM is less expensive to produce an S35VN, but I suspect it is, because generally speaking, once you get out of the world of autos, 154 CM knives are a little bit less expensive than S35VN knives. But as I said before, I think both of them are worth the money. Like I said, the ProTech was about $100. The Launch 4 after tax was about $76, so it's a good bit cheaper. But I think both of them are really good knives to have. I mean, they actually probably make, really good. Let me get both of these in the same picture again. Both of them, in my opinion, make good EDC knives if you're in polite company. Because one thing about it, if you're really sensitive about having an auto, you don't have to let people see you open it. You can just use it. And if you're like me and you have an office, you don't really have to. You can do things inside your office. And the other good thing too is that these being small knives, provided that you live in an auto legal area, being smaller knives, they're much less likely to run into blade issues. I know, like in Illinois, if you work on state property, a knife should be 3 inches or less. Illinois law doesn't formally have a blade limit, but if the blade is over 3 inches, then you need to be able to verify that it's not being used for any kind of weapon purpose. And and even though you have to have a FOID card, firearms owner card, to own a knife in Illinois, I think that the status of knives as non-weapons is still in the law, because if the knife was going to be recognized as a weapon, then you would probably have to have a concealed carry permit to have the knife. I think really the whole purpose of the FOID provision in Illinois knife law is to keep people with criminal records from buying autos. But once again, as conservatives would say, chances are criminals are going to use the weapon of opportunity. They're not going to spend 80, 100, 200, 250 on an auto. They'll probably get a kitchen knife or whatever, the knife out of the gas station, and do the crime that they're going to do, because it's not like they're investing in it. Well, anyway, as I said before, before getting off topic once again, I think that these are both really nice knives for people who are concerned about not having something huge in their work environment, or even in a non-work environment, maybe like church or something. And I would recommend both of them. Have a good day.